Welcome to a new episode of the City Gents. You got me, Javon, since I can't go by King Javon, I guess. But
I mean, bro, you can call yourself King. I'm just not calling you King Javon.
That's what I said.
You can call yourself that all you want. I ain't calling you that though.
Look, we're gonna continue to get it going though. You got me, you got my co-host here.
Santiago, hola, ¿cómo estás? How we doing? How's everybody going? I'm feeling good. We got a lot going on right now. I'm really hyper. But we got Arick all the way from España. He's one of our guests. We're definitely happy to have him on here. Arick, how you doing? How you feeling, man?
Pretty good. It's been a good week here in Spain so far. So just living the dream out here.
Yeah, I'm you gotta rub that in though.
Living in. So, what part of Spain are you in?
So I'm in southern Spain. It's about 30-45 minutes out of the major city, Sevilla.
Okay.
So it's pretty nice, but down south here, like no snow, like I was saying. So it's pretty nice out here. Yeah. It's sunny all the time. Today it rained, but it's usually sunny all year round. It's great.
I feel that, man. And people always, when you get away from, so when you were, and we'll dive into more your military experience and your career and all that stuff and what led you to Spain. But when you were originally here, were you in the Chicagoland area?
No, I actually started out in Kansas, born and raised in Kansas. And then my first base was actually Minot, North Dakota. So I did a little time in the States. But yeah, that's where I started out. Okay,
so Kansas and then North Dakota.
Yeah.
All the states you could go to is Kansas. You can't choose where you're born, but where you grow up. And then North Dakota. So for those you don't know, this is one of Javon's friends, and I'm guessing y'all connected in Kansas.
Yep,
college. And
in college.
who wants to talk about that? I know one of y'all wants to chop it up. Any experience, any stories y'all have? Who want to take the lead on that one?
Oh, you, man.
All right. Yeah. Kansas was an interesting experience. My life there was totally different. I mean, I met Arick through some medical sorority, fraternity, something like that.
Fraternity thing. Yeah.
So we met through this medical thing when I was y'all hear about it at some point. I haven't dropped this on y'all, but at one point I wanted to be a doctor, and it was my biggest dream. And everything else. So
I'll call you Dr. Lamont before I call you. I'll call you. Hey, what up, doc?
At one point. So that's how I met Arick. We connected through there. My life was totally different. Who y'all know me now is, and who Arick know me as. I was wild in college. But somebody like Arick was kind of keeping me balanced, man. The guy was helping me stay balanced in a lot of different ways because I was tripping. I was doing some wild shit. Excuse me.
Yeah, we're workout partners, so.
Bruh, okay, so real quick, Javon has showed us an old picture of him in college. I'm glad y'all hit the gym. That's all I'm gonna say, because my man was like a skinny crackhead. Hey, you got
viewers and listeners don't need to know about that.
Right. No, they talk about my head consistently. Nah, he showed me a picture. I'm like, bro, you look like a well-dressed crackhead.
I was small, skinny.
Yeah,
that was wild. Arick, tell us about your college experience, man.
Yeah, Arick, how was Kansas for you, man?
Kansas was great for me too. I had a pretty good time. Maybe not as wild as Lamont over here, but it was a good time for me. So just the whole college experience, living in the dorms, the campus was beautiful. I don't know if anybody's been to the University of Kansas, but it's got a beautiful campus. And I just enjoy going to all the sporting events and hanging out with my friends. So.
No, I'm gonna keep it a buck. What is there to do in Kansas? And I'm trying to ask that without sounding like But I'm genuinely curious. I've driven past Kansas,
Oh yeah,
like not past it, but through it. But
right.
I haven't actually been there. So what is there some things that you guys would done, out there at college or even, in the city if they have let me stop.
So for me, my experience was like I only went to like Lawrence, which is kind of like very you would think that you're in like a for you, Pat, like you and I like a Gurney,
Oh, okay.
like closer to a big city. So it is
Oh,
Lawrence area. Well, actually, it's a lot more popping than like suburbs of Chicago, I would say, because like people like Lil Wayne come there. A lot of other like big stars will come there for the basketball team just to do concerts. Like the city that the school is in actually is lively. Outside of that, it's kind of questionable. You got like 30 minutes away, you got Kansas City, which is kind of like where the Chiefs play.
yeah.
30 minutes away, they got like a lot of nightlife. It'll be like Milwaukee compared.
Okay.
I mean, I know Arick grew up in Kansas, which is totally different.
Yeah. So as somebody
Yeah.
who grew up, from infant all the way to your college years, what are some things that you did, as a child that was like fun or exciting for you guys out there?
I mean, same thing as anybody else. Growing up, going to the movies, hanging out with friends, and then college. Just college parties, frat parties, house parties, all that good stuff. Going to all the sporting events because we got the Royals, we got the Chiefs, KC Sporting, and then you got KU basketball, KU football, which hasn't been relevant for many years, but
but the basketball is that Kansas is definitely a basketball school now for sure. But that's actually a lot going on. You think about there are a lot of major sports teams, and the Kansas City Royals were actually in the World Series not too long ago, and then you got Chiefs that's been in 2 Super Bowls, and they I don't know if they were in this second Super Bowl, but
they were there.
They were there. I'm not too sure what happened with it because every time Patrick Mahomes snapped the ball, it was like he had no offensive line. That was sad.
I thought he was in track doing a 100-meter dash trying to run away.
Yeah, I'm like, this man gonna beat Usain Bolt's record in a second.
It is what it is. I'm like, man, I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of rooting for Kansas City, but then I want Tom Brady to win. But it is what it is. What about Mr. Santiago? We always talk about. I haven't never really heard your college stories, man.
Because, bro, I'm always interested. I give my feedback and stuff, but I'm always interested in hear about the people. We don't need to talk about.
He's like, we're not diving into that.
We'll tap into that on another episode. I enjoy what?
For y'all that don't know, Santiago was something in college himself. He just don't like talking about it.
Yeah, I was I read my Bible.
That's a little bit of Santiago.
That's all. No, we'll definitely share that. But Arick, so you're in the military, you're in the Army. Again, if I didn't say this before at the beginning, thank you for your service. Were you in the ROTC program in Kansas, or did you always want to join the military, or how do you transition into there?
Well, first off, thanks for the support. Appreciate it. I know not everybody's always backing us, and everybody's got their opinion. So thank you for your support. But to answer the question, no, I didn't do the ROTC thing. It wasn't for me all through high school or college. I didn't do either one. My dad served in the Army, but that's not really why I had a choice in it. It was mostly like college was expensive, and I was like, I can't pay for, at least a Division I college. If I would have switched to a JUCO or started at a JUCO, probably would have been a smart idea. But I was young, dumb. I was 18. I was like, I want to go to KU, that's where I wanted to go. So the original plan was do my 4 years enlistment, get that free school, get out, go back to college as a young dude, or still being young and just being able to go do all that. And plans changed, and here I am still in the military 7 years later. So it's been a wild ride.
When you say plans changed, are you saying that you just decided not to go back to school, or what changed with your current plans?
Biggest thing was just for me staying in the military. Like I did those first 4 years, and at the end of it, it was 2016. I was like, you know what? I'm in Korea. My next base is Japan, so I'm gonna stay in, and we can do extensions. So I extended, and the extension is just enough for you to finish that next assignment. So the next assignment was Japan for 2 years. So I did that. And then after that, I found out I was still going to be overseas. So I extended again to go back to Korea.
Oh man,
And
we're
then I
definitely
found
gonna have
out,
to dive into this for sure.
yeah. So like just one thing after another. So like since it kept coming out like that, that's why I did that. And then I go to college online because
Okay.
we're still allowed to do school while we're in the military, and it's still paid for free as well. So we use tuition assistance is what we get. We get
Yeah.
like $4,000 a year. So I knock out like a couple classes because sometimes we work 80 or 100 hours a week. You don't really have time to do college work. So
And it's crazy that you said it. First, I'll touch on the college thing because that's similar to what happened with me. Is I actually started college. I was a freshman, and I wasn't taking college seriously. Now I did well enough because I was paying for it, so I wasn't like blowing off classes or anything. Okay, I wasn't blowing off that many classes, but but I was like, I'm bored. I don't want to stay here. What can I do? My pops was in the military, my granddad as well. That funny story wasn't even how, I came to go into the army. I looked at the Air Force, but the recruiter was never in office. So I was like, all right, cool. Keep it moving. Looked at the Navy, and then I was like, I don't like water. So I don't want to. That was literally the only reason I was like, I don't want to be on a ship for 8 months. I can't do it. But then what's funny is then I looked at the Marines, which literally translates to water. But so I looked at the Marines, and I was, even my entry level paperwork still to this day says Marine Corps on it. And what stopped me, and this should have stopped me in the beginning, again, I was 18. He was like, oh yeah, there'll be sometimes you'll be a QRF. For those of you who don't know, it's quick reaction force on a ship. Like, so if something happens, you have to be ready to go, ready to, essentially fight. Like, you're the first line of defense, essentially. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, so you could still be on a ship for 8, 9, 10 months. I was, yeah, no, nah. So I walked out, and my army recruiter was having a smoke break. He's like, oh, you didn't listen in the Marines? I'm like, nah, man. He's like, oh, come, let me talk to you for a few minutes. And 8 years later, it's pretty much that happened. So I definitely understand how, like, sometimes you're in a something mode and you go and you're like, you know what, let me just do something different. And sometimes some different ends up being the life you never expected. Tell us a little bit about Korea. Like, what are some even just the cultural differences or some of your greatest experience, in Korea while you were there?
oh man, Korea was wild times in 2016. There was a lot of turmoil. If a lot of people don't remember, but that was when Kim was doing all of his crazy stuff. So like
Oh yeah.
American and Korean tensions were kind of on the edge a little bit. So we were stacked up with people there. Um, Leadership didn't really care about like all the rules and everything. Like the nitpicky stuff. So it was kind of like show up, do your job, go home, do your job right, kind of deal. And so
Gotcha.
we had a little more freedom. It was a little more of a party mode when you weren't like party when you party and work when you're at work kind of deal. So we had a lot of freedom still, even with those tensions. So people partied hard because they were like, any day Kim could just flip the switch. So
Exactly.
if I'm gonna be real about it, like that's how it was.
And you're right. I completely forgot, but the tensions were pretty high around
Yeah,
that
it
time.
really was. Now I think about it, I was navigating that space, like being like that. You all like know that something can happen potentially. It's kind of like living on the edge a little bit, but also having some concerns in the back of your head. I mean, I know y'all both have served in the military, so y'all kind of already in reactive mode. But
Yeah.
for you being in South Korea, how was that for you? And I know Santiago, right after my follow up question for you is like, how is it? I know you talked about like having the PTSD and things like that in the past, in our past episode. how is it navigating a space when I know that you grew up overseas to some degree? I
Yeah.
came from America.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely let Arick go first on that one.
Okay. Well, for me, like that turmoil kind of thing, like it kind of settled in, and that was some like a mindset thing I did before I even joined the Air Force. Was like, hey, like, I mean, this contract is, it's a payment essentially. You literally do sign your life away because that's what it is. They can tell you to go somewhere and you can't say no. And if it's a hostile area, it's a hostile area. So for me, I put myself in that mindset before I even joined, like as I was going through the in processing phase, the debt program and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I kind of got in that mindset then, but then actually being Korean, you're like, oh, this is like real. It could happen. It was just kind of like we just didn't really think about it. And that's why people partied so much or, traveled because I still traveled. I was hiking mountains, seeing temples and
Mm.
doing stuff. Like we didn't only party, but it's just like you can't do too much about it. Like you can't stop Kim. Nobody's been able to stop him. He's gonna be crazy and do his thing. So live while you can, and if stuff goes sideways, react to it. That's really all you can do about that part.
I definitely like that. And the crazy part is, just touching briefly on that, people think Kim is crazy. They need to look up stuff about his sister because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Kim got anything on his sister. That's just if she ever took control, she pushing the button. Like, so I guess count our blessings. I don't even know how to phrase that, but I do.
Yeah.
I do like that you said, there's only so much you can do about that. And that's kind of where I've came into, my line of thinking with a lot of stuff. I can worry about this, I can do this and this, but there's only so much preparation that I can do myself before either it's going to happen or it's not. The only thing I can do is prepare. I can't worry though, because when you get to the point of, oh, I'm worrying about it, it consumes you. And then you can, get crazy, lose friends or, whatever. When I say get crazy, what I mean by that is you lose yourself, you get stuck in your own mind. And that, with me finding out, I have a mild case of that. It's more from outside of military experiences, but obviously the military help enhance, PTSD and stuff like that. And it takes a while to really realize how to navigate it because it took me a while to really accept that that's what it was, So for me, the military did a lot of great things for me. And, but also within that too, there's a lot of things that you wish could be different because you're never the same after you come out the military and most of it's for very positive reasons. I would say it's not many negative things that I have to say about the military as a whole. Now the government, that's a different story, but the military, I don't have much negative to say about it. So me navigating it through everyday life is just realizing that I'm never going to be the type of normal that a lot of other people are. And that's partly because I grew up in Europe for 3.5 years. I was around different people from different cultures, different walks of life. So I have a different worldview than some people have been able to have. Some people haven't even left their county, let alone their town. Some people.
Right.
So I have to count my blessings in that regard that I've been able to experience different cultures and different people and stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's an awesome thing. What both of y'all were saying, especially um, touching on back on what you were saying, Santiago, being able to step out of your own neighborhood to be able to experience like life, your own county, your own state, experience life for what it is. And what Arick was saying is perfect, man. It's for both of y'all. But what Arick was just saying about the having a mindset, not just in, he's in a kind of like was in a war zone almost, like never knowing if you're gonna make it or
And
not, but you have to live life regardless. So I want people to take away from this episode too, things that we've been talking about and that we continue to talk about, especially in season 3, is that being able to still navigate life regardless of what's going on in your world, being able to grind and keep going and still enjoy life regardless of whatever is going on. I know Santiago been dropping books for you all to look into, listen to audio wise or even read, but explore your mind and enjoy life even when there's hard times you're going through.
Exactly. The future is kind to those who prepare for it today. So,
Yeah.
So let's, so with that, so you were in Korea. How was Japan? What was the differences there? How was it? And my bad, bro. I think I said you were in the Army like 3 separate times, and you in the Air Force. So so that's
No,
my
it's all
fault,
good.
bro. But yeah, definitely.
So
Yo, and my bad, Arick. I pretty much, I know for sure I said that you were in the Army like 3 separate times, and you just smiling like, this man don't realize I'm in
No,
the Air
it's all
Force.
good.
So my bad, but
I was like, I'll drop it later.
yeah, he's like, I'm gonna drop that hint later. So in the Air Force,
Yeah.
but so how was Japan, man? How was your experience there? Any great stories, or how was your experience just there overall?
It was phenomenal, honestly. Like, I mean, like I've been to a handful of other countries, but like I'm not one of those people that's been to like 100 countries or anything.
Yeah,
But I can for sure say, like, if I didn't live in America, I would want to live in Japan. It's just the way it is. So I was actually stationed in Okinawa, Japan, which is an island off the coast, or well, it's not even off the coast. It's like 2.5, 3 hours by plane. So it's way far south. It's closer to like Guam and the Philippines and all that. So it's a subtropical island. It's a beautiful place. It's basically like Hawaii, honestly. And the lifestyle in Japan is just phenomenal. Like everything's great. It's not super futuristic like a lot of people would think. Not even Tokyo. I mean, yeah, like they do have like good electronics and things like that, but it's not like you're living in 2044 or something. Like
gotcha.
it's still pretty normal life. It's just the way that those people live, like the Okinawans, they just have like a very chill island vibe, like obviously, but that lifestyle, the car scene there is great. If anybody's like a car enthusiast, I definitely would say go to Japan. Like obviously Fast and Furious, but it's kind of true.
Yeah. Oh, so they really just be doing like real like stuff in like Tokyo Drift there, pretty much.
Yeah, we have. That was me. Oops. But yeah, they do like the tracks and the drifting and all that. So it is kind of crazy to see all that firsthand, and it's a really good time. You can get on the course and you can just do regular track days. You can actually drift, or you can just do drags. Just kind of whatever your car build is that you want to do. You can definitely do that, and even if you just want to like cruise, like we do a lot of cruises and there's like mountains and stuff, and you can cruise down those, and we'd like rally up with a bunch of friends and we'd be like 10, 15 cars deep and we just drift down the mountainside and whatnot.
That sounds like a good time to me. I don't see nothing wrong with that. That sounds like a great time. I'm like imagining it, and then I'm looking outside and I'm like, I'm still in Virginia.
Well, that, and then since it's a tropical island too, like it's all like all the water sports and everything are great. So like scuba diving and snorkeling is amazing there. You can watch like whale migrations in like the spring. I want to say it's March, and then they have like a shark migration you can watch too if you want to be a little more ballsy and see 200 sharks swimming around.
From a distance, I'll watch.
Yeah.
Talk about culture there. Totally different than what we see here. So.
Like the island just has everything. Anything you can think of. Like if you're a hiker, a photographer, if you want to fly drones out there, if you like water sports, like anything and everything, they have it. So it's perfect to me.
So when you talk about the culture, like give us some examples of what you mean by culture. I know that you were telling me not too long ago about like there are lifestyle changes and people that are different, even like dating and relationships and all that. So how is navigating through all that space, being that you're American and your lifestyle is totally different?
So like me being like a half Asian dude, I kind of like blended in. So I didn't have as much of a culture shock. Like a lot of people treated me a little bit differently than some of the people I was around. There's some bad blood and bad history with like Marines and Okinawans because
That makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes
like
sense.
just the history. If anybody knows, like not just because of the war, but just because of like how long the Marines have been there and been
Yeah.
occupying the island. It's just kind of like bad. Air Force, so they love us, so it's kind of funny to see that. But culturally, just like all the festivals they have there, they have like green tea festivals, they have the Lotus Lantern festivals. There's just like a festival like almost every month, or even like multiple festivals per month. Food trucks are really big over there too. So like in the America, like you see a food truck, you're like stay away from the food trucks. But in Japan, you're just like find a food truck. Like, if you want
Wow, that's what I
food.
want.
Yeah. The variety of foods there too like plays into their culture. So like Japanese people love to embrace other cultures, from everything from their architecture to their vehicles to just everyday life. They incorporate so many other cultures, whether it's German or American or whatever. So I think it's kind of cool and to see that similarity between us and the Japanese. I feel like America's kind of gotten away from being like integrating with other cultures as much. Um, but Japan really accepts those other cultures and just kind of makes it like their own. And I think that's really cool too.
That's
So
yeah.
to see that like foods is amazing.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, you got people who think America's official language is English for some reason. So I definitely agree that we've kind of lost sight of being more accepting of other cultures than we have been in the past. And we weren't even that accepting in the past either. So I don't know that we really ever fully learned our lesson to embrace other cultures effectively. I do have a question though. So I'm just gonna come out right. So I'm a dark-skinned individual. Um,
Yeah.
what is the difference as far as like race or relations between Japan? Because I have a friend or two of mine who've been to China and they've experienced you know some pleasant experience and some very very negative experiences. So what is it like over there in Japan with that?
Culturally with different people, like I've noticed when it comes to black people, they always love to like touch their hair and stuff. Like I don't know what it is about Asia and like black people touching their hair, but like they're just like, can I touch it? Like it's a real thing. Like
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I believe that. I definitely believe it.
that is one thing I've noticed. Also, like between men and women, I think it's just across the world too. Though, at least for the countries I've been to, like women are a little more open-minded. I don't know if that's just because, like,
Mm.
obviously, if they're attracted to you, they're gonna be like, okay, well, he's cute. I don't care, what color his skin is or what he looks like. Like he's just cute. And then guys, like I don't want to say it's totally just based off of an attraction thing, but to me, I think men are just naturally more closed-minded. We're just a little more cautious of just like who are these strange foreigners in our country kind of deal, which is kind of messed up. But I mean, like, I don't see people that way. That's what I've perceived from other countries I've been to.
Do you feel like the racial
Um,
tensions are like the racial tensions, for example, like what Patrick's saying with black being dark skinned, black or
yeah,
is it
they've,
I
for
specifically said dark skinned, and here's why I was
you
very
did.
specific on that.
I know why you're
Because
but go ahead.
huh?
I know why
Huh?
Well,
but I want the listeners to know. Go ahead, Mr. Santiago.
I
yeah.
said that. I'm gonna let the guest, Arick. He's up. He's in Spain. He's with us. I'll let Arick, say what he wanted to say first. Go ahead, man.
Well, I'll circumvent back to that. I got a little sidetracked, but like as far as like black people in those Asian countries, whether it's Korea or Japan specifically, recently I'm sure a lot of people saw with Black Lives Matter movement within this last year. A lot of Asian cultures across the globe were supporting Black Lives Matter because they also believe in equality, and I feel like America skips out on a huge part of Asian society and Asians
Mm,
moving into the country. Part of the history of Asians in America, Asians are the only minority group that have ever been denied entry to the country for the sole base of their race. So, granted, it was the Chinese, but you think back then they really cared if you were Chinese versus Korean versus Japanese. Like they didn't
nah,
care.
nah. They probably
So,
just put y'all all to everybody together into
exactly.
one category. is what I could say.
And then there was a lot of tension in the South too between Asians and Americans, and it wasn't very good there either. I mean, Asians built the railroads too. They were slaves working for railroad companies across America. So
That is correct.
there's a lot of history there between Asians, and that they believe in that equality too, because their upbringing in America, they can relate to Black people in some ways. We may not have walked in the exact same shoes, but we still get that taste of inequality. And, you know, it is very different because obviously people aren't attacking Asians, and we're not getting put in jail and arrested and shot by cops like Black people do. But we still feel the inequalities to some American communities, and depending on what state you're into, are a little more unaccepting or accepting to your culture. So as far as Asia goes, though, I think they're pretty accepting these days.
That's great, and that's a lot of great information right there for real. And I thank you for sharing that, because that is one thing I've noticed is specifically more so what is our generation. I see a lot of, friends that I know of mine who are of Asian descent or, Pacific Islander. They are heavily advocating for equality, to the point to where some of them have even like checked their own parents, racist bias and stuff. I've been in homes and stuff where, some of my friends are either, Filipino. I had some friends who are from who are Vietnamese. One of my closest friends from the military is actually Vietnamese, and we were, having discussion about that. And he's very about equality, like very much about it. And I know that there is still some type of divide between the Black community and the Asian community.
Yeah.
Specifically because of all types of different things, racist bias, the way you grew up, somebody telling you not to like this person, people being followed by, Korean owners in the store when they're just trying to get, so there's just a lot of factors on both ends that could contribute to the, division currently. And some of it is not even off. It was, some of it's not even because of Black or Asian people. Some of it's because of people outside of that. That cause a division. And so I have noticed and I have seen some similarities. Obviously, I haven't been in Japan to see this or anything, but some similarities to what you're saying, even here in America, of a lot of people, really trying to stand together more, especially in the Asian community. Like, hey, we got to stop with this. We got to stop with, Black people are this. And the reason why I said the dark-skinned thing is because I've had several friends from the Filipino side, Pacific Island side, who said that their parents told them the darker an individual is, the more full of sin in poor they are. So, like,
Yeah,
pretty
I've
much,
heard that before.
yeah, they're pretty much, they're bad people. But
Yeah.
obviously they allowed themselves to meet and figure that out for themselves. And you never know who you could change your mind by just being the person you are. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that.
So I want to say, tune in for part 2 of this episode. Next week, you'll get into part 2.